Good morning. First of all, I'd like to apologize for delivering this presentation to you in English. I appreciate it's not your native language, so please bear with me. I'll try to speak. I'll try not to use too many local words. So, Encode, we've been attending this event. In fact, I think we were the inaugurators of this event 8 years ago. So our two co-founders, Harry and Panos, were the first ones here. So we're proud to be here again for the 8th year in a row. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes on the cyber threats and GDPR. I think probably by now most of you as organizations will be some way down the road towards being compliant for GDPR, if not already so. But there are some interesting challenges, and as the title of this event suggests, the 25th of May is just the beginning. You know, this is not a measurement that's set in the sand. As we know from other previous governance, it's going to morph. It's going to change over the months after May and into the following years. So there are two advanced challenges and one efficient approach, we think. The cyber threat problem. I'm not going to dwell too much on this because I know that you all understand what the cyber threat is. But this is the cyber kill chain as defined by Kevin Mandia at his days at Lockheed Martin. The first two that we see on the left, reconnaissance and weaponization, really isn't an awful lot that you can do as an organization about that because this involves the attacker doing reconnaissance on your organization. He's using open search intelligence to do the reconnaissance, looking at Facebook, looking at LinkedIn, doing Google searches, and basically finding out as much information about his target. The second one is the weaponization. So this is where the attacker decides what he's going to use, whether it's a malicious email, whether it's a URL link to a malicious website. The third one here, the delivery, is where he attempts to send the payload, and this, as I said, could be an email. And the fourth is the exploitation. But the important part about the fourth part is that it still requires an individual with the organization to click on that link or open that PDF document or click on that link. And the C2, the reason why we've got that highlighted, the command and control communication, because this is the bit where the attacker gains his foothold within the organization, and from there he can spread throughout the organization in an undetected fashion, low and slow, and achieve his goal and get to his goals, which is obviously the lateral movement and exfiltration of data. It's a bit like a car thief getting inside your prized possession and then getting the code to start the engine and drive away with it. So there's quite a lot of information on this slide, but what it shows that over the years, certainly only in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, we've had an exponential growth in attacks. And they're in the media all the time. We're hearing about them on a daily basis. So much so that one could also become anesthetized because we hear so much about it. And you sort of get the impression, well, you know, I've been attacked, but I'm still here. I still have a job. The company's still functioning, so what? But this is where the GDPR bit comes in, because now there's a bigger stick. So I think, for me, the best point on this slide is the 191 days to detection. This is the average. Now, this figure varies. Sometimes you read 225 days, 200 days. It's still a lot, 191 days till detection. This is the typical amount of time it takes to detect a breach. So, and the average cost of the data breach, 3.6 million. Of course, this is set to rise after GDPR. So, these are the challenges we're facing. You know, that it doesn't matter how large you are or how small you are as an organization. We've seen in the last 10 years that the attacker doesn't care about that size. If you've got some sensitive data that they wish to steal, if you've got a process that they wish to hijack, then you're a target no matter how big or small you are. In fact, we can see from talking to analysts that the biggest growth area in this space is really in the small to medium enterprise. Because, and when I say growth area, I mean in terms of likely targets for the future. So technological complexity, there are more point products out there, more tools, more panes of glass that you have to look at. This affects business agility because you have to, in order to secure your enterprise, it's a trade-off or it's a risk against business agility. How do you manage that? And of course, cyber attacks are becoming more expensive. And the high shortage of skilled staff, I think I read somewhere recently that there are more qualified surgeons in the United States than there are qualified security professionals. So this is a real problem. And of course, you know, one of the big challenges is do you train up your staff to have the competency to become real security operations center specialists? And then once you do it, you've got to keep hold of them. So this is always going to be a challenge. So human against technology, I like to think of it as a carbon unit and a silicon unit. So the silicon unit is the technology, the carbon unit is the person. You need a combination of both. Technology on its own is not going to solve the problem. We know that. We have a lot of experience with, as a group here, you will have a lot of experience with technology and all the different skills that you need in order to run that technology. So what we really need to do is understand our investments that we've made in prevention technology, but also get better at detection. Prevention alone, we know, doesn't work 100%. It's good, it's effective to a certain point, but the detection part is becoming more and more important. So the GDPR challenge. Well, what does it mean? There are obviously these regulations that we've got here are very specific to the security part of it, but there's lots of challenges around strengthening personal data, strengthening what is personal information. So this is another big challenge that we have to overcome as well. So, and the rules around whose responsibility it is with an organization. This is one of the biggest challenges I've certainly seen in London for the last 9 to 12 months, is organizations getting to grips that this isn't a departmental problem. This is a major step that the business has to take in the way it structures its approach. So HR can't say it's admin's problem, and admin can't say it's an IT problem. This is a business problem, something that's managed at an organizational level. And it's only by approaching it from this perspective can you get a good, cohesive or coherent approach to this. So prepare now, pay the price. I mean, we all know what the fines are. This is a familiar figure to us. I think you know, there are other parts to this as well which are not so obvious in the fines, and that is the loss of customer confidence, the loss of share price in the market, the loss of credibility, and how you manage the fallout from the impact of a big breach. And I certainly think that, you know, there's been a lot of press coverage, certainly in the UK, about what's happened at Facebook with the Cambridge Analytica data, the way in which they've handled that data. That's a great case in point. I think Mark Zuckerberg dodged a great big European bullet there by this happening before May 25th. I think if it happened after May 25th, he'd be looking at something like a $1.6 billion fine for that particular oversight. So what do we have to do to be GDPR compliant? Well, certainly you've got to understand where your data is, and a lot of organizations have invested in technology to understand where their data is and then perhaps classify that data and then look at how you secure that data, how you remediate and how you secure. And the type of challenges that I've seen, certainly in the last 6 to 9 months, are, well, when you're looking for the data, you know, you've got to have the ability to look for structured data, unstructured data. You've got to have the ability to look on premises, off premises, live data, stored data. In the cloud, it could be Amazon S3, it could be Microsoft Azure, it could be a Dropbox account that people are using on a personal level, uploading Excel spreadsheets to Dropbox accounts. This is where all your data resides. It could be email, on-premises email, off-premises email. You have to have the capability to find all this data before you can secure it. So we say, let's think differently. If there's a shortcut, well, we're not saying necessarily that there's a shortcut, but there is another way that we can approach this. Okay? And we say start backwards. We say we have a response to this where we can get you 60 to 70% compliant within a couple of months. We can do this through our managed security services, through our managed detection and response service. We have enterprise-grade managed security. Integrates with your current technologies, so you don't have to throw away that investment that you've already made. You can leverage that investment, and it's how to get the best out of those. As I said, how to really maximize that investment you've made in prevention technologies. We've built our own products to enhance yours, so we've done it already for you. It solves the issue of hiring and training security operations specialists and analysts. Prevention, as I mentioned before, can no longer be relied upon. We can turn your team into detection and response experts. Threat hunting. One of the biggest challenges that we have in security is visibility. Without visibility, you can't make a decision. So the more triage you can apply to where your threats are, taking information from your endpoint security, taking early detection and response information, you are then better equipped to make a decision as to where to start looking for these threats. Regain control of your defenses. Reduce that window of exposure from 191 days to just hours. And we've certainly done this. We've done over 200 different exercises of hardening with our red team extrusion detection division, and we certainly know that we can certainly do this within a matter of hours in some cases. And it may be that you've got you already built out a security operations center and you have a team that's fairly advanced. Well, we can help you maximize that team that you've already done by turning them into managed detection and response specialists as well. So, this is a sort of a broad picture of the stack that the technology stack that we incorporate. I'm not going to go into each one of those. Our product that we have is generally called Anorasys. We have various different go-to-market phases with those products. Our SOC stream is powered by IBM QRadar, but we have an awful lot of other stack of technology as well. These are just some of the partners and technology and strategic partners that we have. So we can really help you increase that cyberness readiness level quickly. We can lower that risk, avoid the penalties, the potential penalties that are obviously so well documented in press on a daily basis, and deploy security sensors that we have. This is built into our technology stack, and easily convert customer premise equipment. So I'm just about finished now, but before I go, I'd just like to leave you with a thought, and that is what happens after May 25th. And it's much more in relation to data subject access request, or DSARs. A couple of clients that I've spoken to in London have asked me a question, and I don't really know the answer to it. And if anybody here knows the answer, then by all means come up to the stand and tell me. So if somebody asks, under the right to be forgotten, which I believe is Article 14 of GDPR, you as an individual have the right to request your data from any organization, the request to see what data they hold on you. And then you have the right to ask that data to be removed. So when they remove that data and they communicate to you via email that that data has been removed, and it has to be presented to you in a format that you can use and you can pass on, when they communicate that back to you via email or by post, aren't you then back in the system? Meaning that then they haven't completely erased your details from the system. So if anyone has the answer to that, I'd like to know. Thank you.